terrifying stock market, and so much more. This is what we're going to be talking about on the Richard Neese Podcast.
We believe in all the F words: faith, family, football, and fitness. Check us out on the Richard Neese Podcast every Saturday morning on WKUL.
Please subscribe. Please help us out by growing the channel. We want to help good people get to a better place. Hey everybody, Richard Neese here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Richard Neese Podcast. We're on WKUL Saturday at 9:30 every morning. Hope you guys tune in. We're also on YouTube. And where else, Dominic?
We're also on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Lately, YouTube's been kind of popping off a little bit, especially on the shorts. So just going through and just started producing a lot of shorts, putting up 4 or 5 a day, and starting to get a lot of traction on those. So kind of excited to see that. We also got the TikTok still going along.
Yeah, my kids are so excited about that, Dominic.
Your TikTok's
on the TikTok. And I'm like, I don't actually have a TikTok, but Dominic runs it for me, but that's great.
Yep.
So they're always asking me about that, if I'm going to start doing some dance. And I said, I might for 1 million views, but that's about it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, definitely. I'm subject to the Chinese manipulative algorithm. So
how much more time do we have right now? Like 45 more days or something like that? What did Trump Daddy say?
I don't know. I haven't been keeping a countdown on that right there. I have a brother who's extremely, the right word would probably be addicted to TikTok, that he's always on it. And I rarely use TikTok as a form of entertainment. I ain't gonna lie, I'm mainly more of a Reels guy. More so than the actual TikTok. So the YouTube Shorts and the Reels is what gets my attention. Guess just a matter of habit, not necessarily any particular reasoning on that at all.
So I think TikTok's a good segue. I don't want to get all the way into it, but talking about the tariffs, talking about trade deficit, things like that. Mm-hmm. It's a clear indication, or it's a clear example of government intervention into the marketplace, which is actually kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about too, but from a different perspective. Dominic, I've been, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I've been on a libertarian kick lately.
Yeah.
I've been learning about the Libertarian Party. I've been learning about freedom and liberty as opposed to taxation and control. And so it's been eye-opening for me. I'm actually a member of the Republican Party right now. I'm a member of the executive committee here locally. I'm working on vetting candidates and things like that. But to me, it seems like the Republican Party is moving away from liberty and more towards government intervention, whether that's in a woman's body, whether that's in a lot of different ways. And so I'm trying to feel out where I actually fall, because I'm sick and tired of a two-party system. I'm sick and tired of, if you're not with them, you're with us, or if you're with us, you're not with them, and vice versa, or one issue tickets where I believe this and you're the only person that supports that, so I'm going to be in this ticket. It drives me freaking crazy. I mean, what are your thoughts on the two-party system, Dominic?
I mean, honestly, the two-party system, again, it's controlled opposition is what I look at on the two-party system. It's like you're on one team and the other team is doing controlled opposition, but y'all both moving in the same direction, that they want to go into. So I'm definitely don't fall under either category. I'm not registered one party or the other.
Yeah.
I will say that I typically, when I have voted, it was generally Republican. I have voted for a few Democrats in my life, but for the most part, it's kind of like hold your nose type. Most elections, it's hold your nose, unless it's something that's more local. I try to be more involved in those because they do have more of a direct impact on us, unless it comes down to, with one of my exceptions, I've only voted one time for it, when it comes down to school boards, not school boards, oh my gosh, my mind went blank, the head of the schools in Coleman, in the capital.
The
superintendent. I will not vote on those. Mainly not because of anything. I don't feel like I've earned the right or the privilege to say what other people's can have input on other people's kids, because I don't put my kids in public schools. Yeah, so I don't feel like that I should input my opinion on that, my vote on that, because I just feel like that's wrong. I'm not going to impose some view of mine on other people's kids. I just don't believe in that.
No, that definitely makes sense. And it's kind of crazy that we think about that. We're voting for somebody to indoctrinate our children.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
He is the better candidate, or she is the better candidate to indoctrinate my children. No, let's get away from that. But I don't know, man. I've just been digging into it more. And, I've always heard this, and I'm sure you have too, and I've been researching it, that if you vote for an independent, if you vote for libertarian, if you vote for the Green New Deal Party or whoever you're voting for, the right-wing extremists, that it's a vote
Tea
that's
Party,
wasted.
whatever.
Tea Party,
Yeah.
that it's a vote that's wasted. You know, the Libertarian Party, they've actually got a whole Q&A on this, and where they go back to the Whig parties and things like that. They say, at one point, if you would have continued to vote one of those ways, then we wouldn't have the current parties we have now. And so they're saying that the division between these parties eventually created the new party that stepped up in that role. Whether you like the system or not, that's kind of what's happened over time, because originally we didn't have Democrats and Republicans. If you go back to earlier days, they were called different names. Now, I'm not a scholar in any way to say that they're the same parties, but they've just been altered with their name, but I'm not sure.
I mean, if you really think about, like, the Republican Party of today mimics more of the Democrats of the 90s more than ever when you look at policies.
True.
And then in a lot of ways, it's like back then, or the early 2000s, you would think of Republicans as warmongers and, and big business, pro big business.
Sure.
Nowadays, you see more of the Democrats being more on the warmongers and pro big business.
Well, it makes sense for them, yeah.
Yeah, and then you see on the other side, I just see kind of a role reversal on that we've seen that shift in our life to where certain policies and certain standpoints and views have shifted around from versus where we were before. It's crazy in our short lifetime that we've actually seen that.
Absolutely. Well, it just makes me sick that we only have two options as a whole. And the more I dig into this, I start realizing why. I mean, there's so many limitations on these third parties as far as trying to put candidates in. They don't even get access to the ballots. There's a lot of things where they've got to pay additional fees, whereas the Democrats and Republicans get this, whatever the benefit is, for free. And then a smaller third-party team would come in, and they would try and get that and cost them $50,000 or $60,000. That's a big swing in local elections and statewide elections. So it's crazy to see kind of the limited choice that we have in Alabama in particular. And I'm just digging more in, and I may not end up signing up with the Libertarian Party and maybe some other variation. But to me, it makes the most sense, because what we look at is the Libertarian Party typically pushes for social freedoms. You have the right to do what you want to do, liberty-wise. If you want to marry a man, marry a man. And if you want to do drugs, you can do drugs. If the right to swing my fist stops at your nose, is what they say. Essentially, if it's not hurting me physically, if it's not taken away from my rights, then you do what you want to do because you're an adult, and we give you that liberty and that freedom to do that. Now, I was a police officer before. I can see both sides of this, but I just keep coming back to, you can't legislate morality. You can't tell people, oh, I'm going to make sure that you don't drink on Sundays. Well, guess what? I'm going to buy more on Saturday, and I'm going to drink.
Yeah, so it don't make no sense.
So when
Oregon outlawed the lottery in the state of Alabama, yet everyone goes up to Tennessee.
Absolutely.
We're not stopping people from doing these acts. We're more or less just diverting it to a different, to another ecosystem, I guess might be the right way to put it.
Let's let every man and woman decide based off of them being citizens, based off of them being 18, whatever we decide that age is of maturity. You do what you do, but also don't get the bailout on the backside. You don't get the government to protect you on the backside too. And that's the handoff, right? Because most people want to be protected if this fails. I want liberty, and if I fail, I fail. And that's what it comes down to. I don't want Uncle Sam to come in and say, here's you some STEMI money to take care of yourself, or here's some money to help you on your business failing because a disaster came through. Things suck. That's some people make a lot of money, some people don't. But it's a problem overall when we continue to have a safety net, but with that safety net comes less liberty. It comes less ability and freedom to do what you want to do. And I'm really, really struggling with that as a man, as an American, as an Alabamian, because there is no true choice. So I've reached out to a few people in the party. I'm going to go to a couple get-togethers and just see what they're truly about, because I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and we were talking about how libertarian, when I hear libertarian, I hear liberty. I don't hear liberal. But in Alabama, if you say liberal, the vote is against you no matter what.
Well, the thing is that the term liberal has been so hijacked, just like the term conservative has been hijacked. It took on a meaning that's not exactly true to its definition.
That's right.
So when you think of liberal, you think progressive, which is basically let's do blue hair people.
That's right. Yeah.
Then whenever you hear conservative, you think of your grandma. So it's really.
But your grandma could have had blue hair.
I mean, yeah, exactly. The biggest thing about it is that way I view it is and I like to go and use this analogy of a fence. There's a fence in the middle of a field. Do we need to remove the fence or not? Now, the liberals say, why should we have that fence for restrictions? We need to open up that fence for everyone, for free passage. And so they're like, okay, well, let's tear the fence down. Where a conservative says, well, that fence has been there forever. We don't change things, that just because it's there and it's established, we're leaving that fence there because that's where that fence belongs. It's been there. The reality is that we got to think of, why is the fence exist? What is the purpose of that fence? When you tear it down, it could be because it's keeping out some dangerous wild animals, or it could be that it's trying to contain people on one side or the other. What is the purpose of the fence should be the question, not should we rip down the fence for the sake of ripping something down for the sake of change, or should we leave the fence for the sake of keeping things the same as it was before?
That's right.
So at the end of the day, we should go and examine the problems case by case and the issues case by case, not through the lens of conservative or liberals, but through the lens of what's going to serve best for the public. It's going to serve best in the public interest.
I keep coming back to this, though. I mean, you talk about the conservative, you talk about the liberals. What I see is a social contract, and what social contract did we sign? The social contract is that I give up certain rights in order to receive certain benefits from our government. That's the social contract. I believe in the United States, we gave up certain things, certain liberties, on a very, very minimal scale in order to have protection as a United States of America. United group of people, united group of states that are basically banded together, and we are protected from other countries. We have a basic rights as far as travel. You have roads, you have things like that. But other than that, I'm tired of seeing the taxation. I'm tired of seeing the government tell me that I can't smoke within 15 foot of this building, even though the folks inside will allow me to do that own the building. Why do we have so much regulation? Why do we have so many taxes? What's the purpose? I don't know. It's to create a government, to continue to create a government, to continue to create a government. It's to fuel the people inside of government. And that's what I have a problem with. There is no liberty when you have a government that is constantly telling me what to do every time I step anywhere.
Well, and I understand the purpose of the reasoning behind what they're trying to do, but it is still a lack of true liberty on it. So
what is the purpose? I would like for you to explain what is the purpose that they're trying to do.
What they're trying to do is create a community. First of all, that's the word we're going to keep using, is that they want to make sure that the community is attractive to attract more people, which brings in more revenue. Ultimately, that's what the end of it all.
What's the revenue for, though?
The revenue is to, obviously...
that's what we keep coming back to. What is the excess for? Is it to make life better for those people?
It's growth. Whenever it comes down to revenue, it's always about growth and greed. That's always more and more and more. There's never a capstone like you hit this amount and that's it. You're done. You're either going to go past it or you're going to fall short of that expectation. Nobody stops at the goal. They always go.
But think about that. The growth. So growth, population, right? Population growth. Mm-hmm. We want to see our country grow. We want to get bigger. But then we start looking at China. What policy did China put in place because of growth? The one-child policy, right?
Absolutely.
So growth happened, and then they're like, oh, we controlled all these things. Now we're no longer going to allow growth because we don't have the resources to protect that. So what they're saying is, you, Dominic, do not know how to take care of your family, provide the resource for it. You are a drain on the economy. You are basically a widget inside of our country, and you do a certain thing for the government's purpose. And then if you do too much of that, that's a bad thing. We're going to smack you on the wrist. There's I forget the economic term. It's the government's hand. It's like the phantom hand or something like that. That they get to apply pressure and do what they want based on guiding our economy or guiding our civilization. And I have a problem with that because I believe it should boil down to the family, to the man, to the woman, to the adult, and that's where liberty is. I don't care how wealthy I am. If I have no freedom, I have nothing. So you can put that one in one of those reels, right?
Just might do well. You're gonna get a lot of hate on that. I don't disagree though.
Hey, I want to hear the conversation. Why do you think that I should have to protect you? Why do you think that you should have to protect me? And by protect, I mean in the form of dollars. I'm taking money from you because I can't be responsible instead of being held responsible for what I'm doing.
You should.
Tom, I need to respond to this real quick. I want you to start on talking about the trade deficit. I know that's something you wanted to hit on real quick.
kind of lost train of thought on that right there. So ultimately, whenever it comes down to this tariffs, the tariff conversation has been real big lately. And by no means am I going to begin to start talking like I'm an expert and some economist that knows exactly how everything works. All that I can tell whenever I'm looking at the trade, when I'm looking at these tariffs and everything, is that we're running at a deficit. And I do know that is whenever you're not providing equal value for goods and trading. I'm trying to think of the right word. Oh my gosh, man, my mind went blank. That COVID brain still gets to me to this day. What's the term for money? Oh my gosh, what's it called?
A fiat currency.
Currency. Oh my gosh, it's currency. Yeah. So whenever you got to go and trade goods for currency, and then you're trading at a deficit, that it empowers the person who's getting the goods, because at the end of the day, currency can be manipulated.
That's right.
Goods are always going to have a tangible value, regardless of the value that you can assign a currency to. So we're trading at a deficit to these countries, and in order to go and equalize that deficit, we have to apply some sort of tariff on that right there in order to get some kind of equalization. As a country, we have to provide that. We can't just have equal trade across board. If we're providing more value, we should get some more in return.
So I'm going to step in there. I see what Donald Trump is doing from my uneducated view. I see what he's doing. He's getting a negotiation chip, a leverage.
Yeah, the big ask. If you read the deal, big ask.
That's right. So he's working on that side. Here's what I see from my more hands-off approach, the laissez-faire, is that he is manipulating too. Now, it's been going on for a long time.
Right.
And it's been going on the other direction since the 50s, because we're trying to repair broken economies. So that's why we've been doing that from World War II. But what I keep seeing is we allow this because, the right wing or the conservative side, we're backing Trump. We think this, and this. To me, there's no difference in him doing this and applying pressure as the government than Joe Biden applying pressure in a different way. There's still the ability to do harm by taking more. It's called mission creep in the military. Okay, well, I've done this now, and I've controlled this through tariffs. Now I'm going to grab a little bit more power and a little bit more power. And Donald Trump may be the guy that steps back and says, you know what, here, you can have it all back, no problem. Or he may turn into the guy that says, I've seen how much I can do with tariffs, so let's take it a step further. That's my fear, whether it's blue, red, black, purple, I don't really care. My fear is that this overstepping of the government intervention, I think the market can run itself. Because what can we do as Americans? If we take away all tariffs, period, and don't allow it either way, then us as Americans can say, we're not going to buy those products. But we don't do that. Why? Because we've been babied this whole time into what's best for me as far as the dollar amount goes works. Well, it doesn't work in that economy. You can fix that by applying pressure on China, not buying their goods, or by holding them accountable. I don't think we should have ever gotten to this point, is what I'm saying.
I can agree to that, but I will say this much, is that whenever you start looking at free trade, those who play dirty is going to get more done across the global scale.
I get it.
And again, from the, you talked about with the libertarian point of view of like, as long as it doesn't harm someone else, where in these trade deals, they are harming their own citizens for us to get a cheap good. So whenever you look at child labor, you look at unfair wages from other countries and stuff, and they're applying things that make it unfair by abusing their own citizens in order for us as the consumers, so that we can have our $4 kids meals for our kids. True. So we can have.
I think that libertarianism definitely has its weaknesses, just like everything else. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'm not a professed libertarian either. I keep coming back to how can we make the best system possible, because what I'll say, a lot of folks that are in that camp, they believe abortion should be legal, right? They say that's a woman's right. What I see is that is another person, so you're infringing on their liberty.
Exactly.
And that's where I get to, is there a perfect system? No, but what I see is in the United States, every single day, people are being taxed into slavery. Taxes, regulation, all these things, if you take those off and you let the economic system run the way it's supposed to, we will thrive again in manufacturing and everything else. Why? Because I can pay my people more, because I'm not paying Uncle Sam. I'm tired of paying Uncle Sam. Now, I'm going to have to write him a check, and I'm going to have to bow and kiss the ring just like everybody else does. Otherwise, what will he do? He will take me and put me in prison because I didn't give him money on something he did not earn. He did not put together. He allowed. That's what it comes back to. And that's what
benevolent benevolent leaders.
That's right. That's right. And then so it really aggravates me. I said a cuss word on air the other day, and I got to be careful about that. This is a family friendly station, but I get so frustrated because you see a bartender that was making $80,000 a year now is a multimillionaire. Where did that come from? It came from my tax dollars. It came from the thing that I'm building. We were blessed recently to have a business. We ran it for 2 years. We built it up. We took the risk, over $1 million risk. And when we sold it, we made over $2 million. We brought in over $2 million. What happened on the backside? Uncle Sam is going to take $400,000 to $500,000 of that from me for what? For allowing me to take a risk? He wouldn't have been there if I'd have failed. Hey, if I would have failed, okay, I'm sorry, Richard, we'll let you carry that over on your next tax, but you still owe this, or you have to file for bankruptcy. So why am I paying all this money if you're not truly benefiting me on that side? It makes no sense to me. I paid the city of Coleman, I paid the county, I paid the state, I paid the United States. But what risk did they take by me putting my capital in for that? I went in debt on that. So I really, really struggle with.
Took the risk. If it lost,
That's right.
If you
have no safety
everything.
net. Yeah. I have no safety net. Oh, well, Richard, you could have been on welfare. Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you look at that side, and then you turn around and you see career politicians that are multimillionaires who have never taken a stinking risk in their life except getting on stage and lying to people. That's where I really have a problem at. If you show me a politician that's working day in and day out for his citizens or her citizens, the people in their area, then I will commend them, but I promise you that they don't have multi-millions in the bank unless they earned it before. Those guys are not the ones that are getting paid. It's the ones that just rubber stamp things that have the problem.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And again, you're talking about it. I'm going to try to make a hard segue into this one.
Hard segue.
This is on my notes, though. Is when you're talking about like with taxes and stuff and you're working as hard as you can, but then you look at the politicians and the laws and the deals they cut with foreign governments.
Sure.
And then you go and look at, you have your illegal residents that come here. We're not talking about those right now. We're talking about the legal residents who come here who abuse our system and our laws for legal reasons. And again, it goes into that trade deficit where I once had a conversation with a foreigner and it really got me angry where he was talking about that the money that he makes, and he's a pretty fairly well-off man. He said every dollar that we make in the United States is what we use to reinvest into the United States.
Yeah.
He says we do not use our currency from our country to invest in the United States. He said we take our dollars that we make and we go bring it back to our country. He said we do not reinvest into it. And then after a few years of them doing that, they can go and make all this money in a lower tax or tax-free situations after a couple of years, but then they could sell the business off, no pay capital gains on that business that they sold off to a relative. And then they repeat the cycle. So then they go back to the country they came from, restart the cycle over again.
And
they're basically funneling American dollars into these foreign countries.
Absolutely.
And our politicians will never do anything about it because those countries have them in their back pocket.
Sure. Well, those countries, and then you look at the constituency and the appeal that we would be anti-immigrant. I mean, all of this stuff plays a factor. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bordering on nationalism in the sense that only America can do this and we need to block out everybody else from everything. The melting pot of America is what makes it great. But you also have to understand that we are getting, because we have the money in the account, those millions and billions don't matter that much. Well, they do matter when there's that many people taking from you. Eventually, that full pot, that full kettle will be empty.
Oh, absolutely. And now that's to say, do I fault the foreigner? Not one bit. They're doing something that's intelligent, that's smart, that's of a sound decision making. You see something, you see an opportunity to make money, you take it. You take care of your family. You go and do what you have to do. So, do I agree with it? No, but I understand it. I understand where they're coming from, and I don't fault them for it.
Sure, yeah, and it always, you start looking at it even with citizens, people that are from here. I look at it on a constant basis of, well, there's opportunities, there's grant money, there's this, there's that. If I don't take advantage of that and I have the resources to do that, somebody else will, and that somebody else will make more money, and then their intentions will be put on the rest of our community. Right. So I try to find great opportunities, great deals, and then when I make a profit, not only does Uncle Sam take 50, 60, 70% sometimes, but I also turn around and put 15 to 20% of my profit back into my community. I mean, Dominic, you've seen the projects we've done, the investments we've done, the parks that we fixed up. the houses that we've taken on for a loss sometimes. Why? Because the community needed that house fixed up. There were crackheads in there. There's people doing prostitution. There's dangerous dogs out there. People couldn't even walk up and down the street, and nobody will do anything with it. Why? Because we're being taxed like crazy, and so common citizens can't even make enough money to pay their bills. How are they going to invest and fix this problem in their community? So it's guys like me, it's guys like you that have to take this on and say, this is my problem. We can't just turn away and say, oh, no, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about just making more money. This is my problem. I'm going to fix it because this is my community. What happens if my daughter's driving 16 years old and some crackhead ends up getting her pulled over? She's a sweet, kind-hearted person and takes advantage of her. I set that opportunity. I didn't do something about it. That's the problem that I have with all of these folks that think this is not my problem. If I do it, though, I shouldn't be taxed on the other side with Uncle Sam saying, I'm going to fix these things when they're not. That's the issue. If I have 50% more of my money, 30% more of my money, I'm fixing these things faster, way faster than they ever would. I'm a little fired up today. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I have some external things going on, and that kind of gets you a little more agitated.
We do. So, I mean, I just struggle so much. I see so many people that are smart, that are hardworking, and they get in this place where they're jaded because they can't make ends meet, or they can't make enough money to get ahead. Or you look at a position of, I can go work at a plant and make $22, $25, $29 an hour, or I can try and create something and I can make $50 an hour, but Uncle Sam takes 70% of it. So I'm making less than the plant worker by creating something.
Yep.
There's a problem with that system. We should be rewarding people that want to take the risk. We shouldn't be protecting them on the backside. We should let them have the fruit of their labor is what I mean.
Well, I mean, anytime you're going to go and break the cycle that they want you to do, which is the plant work, or which
That's
is,
right.
when you do that, they're going to be penalized for it because you're ultimately is going to be competition for the people that's putting money in their pocket.
That's exactly right.
So whenever you start talking about punishing the small business owners, they're going to get punished every time because they don't want anyone starting cutting into those major profits from those people. What they want you to do, they want you to go to school, get a degree, go get taught, get up to your forehead in student loan debt first of all, so that you're forced to work at these jobs. Then you're forced to work into to pay for their insurance. You're forced to work into their retirement savings, that they turn around and manipulate the money that you've made, that you're paying for in the debt. You know, you're paying for the debt that you're doing for the student loans. Now you also got to go get a home loan if you don't want to go and pay rent. So that you're constantly feeding their system with money, even with your retirement. Then they turn around and manipulate that money. That's right. Well, you know.
You mean they're going to use your money and they're going to feed you some crumbs, and they're going to make 10 to 12%, and you make 6%? Oh, yeah, that happens.
And then if it's losses, oh, tough luck. Oh, guess what? They walked off with their money. Yep.
Well, you know what? The market consistently shows 6 to 8% return over a 50, 60-year time frame. Right. So just hang in there. You'll be all right. Yeah. Even though I shorted it. I shorted these big losses, so I made tons of money. And then I'm speaking theoretically, not me. I didn't do that. I'm actually not in the stock market at all for exactly what you're talking about. I shorted it to make money, and once it got to the bottom dollar, you lost. I bought again, so it kind of diluted the shares.
Buying the dips.
And now it's going to go back up, and I'm going to make money off of that. But, you know, we kind of left yours stabilized over there. So it's going to go up and down. You just be happy with the 4 or 5, 6% that I give you.
And just go to your 9 to 5 every day, work for your weekends.
And turn on the arena, turn on the basketball or football game, and watch Rome, you know, watch the gladiators in the arena, and be happy about that. I mean, if you've ever read Fahrenheit 451, if you haven't, you need to. It talks about the family around the walls and being engaged in these reality TV shows. This was before reality TV. It talks about being involved in the entertainment and being absorbed in that. And I think C.S. Lewis talks about it too. The easiest way to enslave a man, I think he said, is to give him beer, soccer, and something else, and that would enslave him, because then he's bought into entertainment and he doesn't care that he goes up 10 hours a day.
Oh, absolutely. He wears himself out 10 hours a day, but then you feed him his little escape.
That's right.
His little escape. So he's working his whole life for that escape to go through there. And then you're 65 years old after they manipulated your money for 65 years. Now you're finally allowed to get your money back.
That's right. You got 6 years until you die.
Yeah. So.
Speaking of an escape, Dominic, we're coming up on the end of the radio show. I think we're going to have to keep rolling with this if you got time.
Yeah, let's do it.
But let everybody know how they can find us, and then let's go ahead and sign off on the radio show. You alone now?
Oh, yeah. Find us on YouTube.
Find us on YouTube. Find us on
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Hope you all have a great rest of your Saturday. And catch the rest of the show on youtube.com.
Everybody, thank you for tuning back in. This is the second segment of the not the real estate rundown, the Richard Neese Podcast. I almost went back 5 years there, the real estate rundown.
That habit will always be there.
When I get fired up, I'm not thinking exactly clear and concise. We're just talking about freedom. We're talking about taxation. We're talking about the ability to live your own life the way that you want to live it. We're talking about people that are telling you that they're investing your money, but they're actually just leveraging your money so they can make more of it. We're the small guy on the totem pole right now. We're the people that are being taken advantage of, and you should take your scraps and be happy with that. Right, Dominic?
Oh, 100%. You got to... That's the life. That's the American dream. And that's the thing. They paint it as American dream is to go out, get a good job, working your 9 to 5, putting your 40 hours a week, getting your 2 weeks vacation a year,
Sure.
Going to college, painting the college experience as being some of the greatest times of your life where you go and you're having a big old party. You're part of, whether it's a fraternity or a sorority, painting this experience that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars for this experience just to get out so that you can have I don't want to say a minimum wage job, but it's getting pretty dang close to being minimum wage jobs. Not necessarily minimum wage as far as what's legally minimum wage, but as far as like what's the entry point of the market, just so that they can keep you there in that system. That way you have to buy their insurance, they have to go and pay for their 401ks. Oh, and don't forget about Social Security, another manipulation that they do to keep manipulating your money to use for other things too. And it's a giant trap, and it's designed. I don't even want to say designed. It may have not been designed, but it is evolved into a form of slavery.
Yeah, serfdom, absolutely.
To where we have this policy that we go through from the time that we're in pre-K all the way until we're 65 years old, and by that time, we're so the quality of life that's left to be lived is not there, and you're living off of the crumbs that you worked for your entire life. And in some cases, there's actually a family member of mine whose in-laws was a couple years from retirement, worked his whole life for at a job, and then he was about to retire, and then found out he had terminal cancer. And just he died, but he left his wife in great position. He left his kids with a little bit. The house was paid for, but what was the fruits of his labor? What was the fruits of his life? He worked his entire life. Did he ever stop to enjoy his life? And then again, I always come back to a class I went to years ago where we're actually talking about real estate. They said there's two things you're going to need. They said if you want to be successful in real estate, you need to invest a lot of time or you need to invest a lot of money to be successful in real estate. But keep in mind, only one of those things is replenishable.
Yep, that's right.
So when it comes down to your life, you have to evaluate, and I like to live my life in a way that's balanced, that it's not always about making the most amount of money, because I'm not what you call just some financial success, but I do want to live a quality of life that I can actually enjoy with the people around me that I love, my children, my family.
Sure.
So
I get back to this. One of my friends, Bobby Wilhite, he said one of his senseis, the guys that taught him about certain martial arts, said all of you guys are children of the market, meaning all we do on a daily basis is want the next thing: the truck, the house, the video game, the grill, the trophy wife, the market. I mean, that's you're constantly being children of the market. What makes us happy? I promise you, being children of the market does not make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing that you find is not going to make. I mean, you may enjoy it, and there are going to be some things. If you're a car guy and you get into that, that's great. But if all you do is wait or try and earn enough money to make that next thing make you happy, there's no value in that. You've got to find value in something else. And what I see more often than not is when people find that and they do well at it, then they make all the money they want and they can get what they want. But when you're constantly chasing that, I mean, you're never, ever going to be happy. So being children of the market ties right into being part of the system. The system starts, just like you said, when you're in kindergarten and you have a bell every 50 minutes, which is your 10-minute break, and then you roll into the next class. What does that sound like? Industrial Revolution. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like the time frame when you are a worker within this cog. And at the end of the day, we have to continue to find out what makes us happy. We have to continue to understand our own liberty and stop having someone else put a bit in our mouth like a horse and guide us in the direction that they want us to go. A lot of times I feel like all we are pack animals out there doing exactly what somebody in Washington, somebody in Montgomery, wherever, exactly what they want us to do. We have to break away from that. We have to start thinking for ourselves, and we have to understand that comes down to every level. When the first thing I say is that you guys have pitchforks and you guys have swords, well, the people with pitchforks are evil and the people with swords are evil, you start fighting each other instead of the person that's actually taking away your rights. And that's what's happening. I feel like we have more Republicans and more Democrats than we do Americans, and that's a problem. We need to start having Americans that think for themselves, that want liberty. They want to be able to do what they want to do. And if it doesn't hurt somebody else, let's stop putting regulations on it. Let's stop putting laws on it. I was a deputy for, I think it was 7 or 9 years. I can't remember exactly. It was quite a while. And what I saw consistently was we have more and more laws built out to keep people to regulate morality. Let's stop regulating morality. I have no problem with you smoking pot. I have no problem with you shooting meth. As soon as you hurt somebody else when you shoot meth up, you should go to prison. You should be killed. Then that gives us personal liberty, right? I'm going to accept the consequences for what I'm doing. And when I step over that line and hurt somebody else, then I'm seriously punished. But if I'm not, don't punish me. If I want to sit at my house and smoke pot all day long, well, that's fine. You're just not getting a damn government check. You're not getting somebody that's going to protect you on the backside. But if you made $1 billion because you made Facebook and you want to do that all day long, great. I don't care. And just leave me alone, leave my kids alone, and I'll do the same for you until you start hurting me. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm.
I definitely share I share the exact sentiment on that right there. It's basically, hey, as long as you go and keep those walls between us separate, and that I don't have to deal with you. And not trying to go and regulate religion or morality to other people and stuff, because at the end of the day, and that's
the government's function, though. The function is not to be the Pope. The function is not to be an imam. Why do we keep trying to do that? Why do we keep trying to force religion or ideology on people through government? Let them think what they want to think. Dominic, if you have 17 wives and you have a construction company and I don't like that you have 17 wives, I'm not going to use you. That's what it comes down to. But if it's truly the market value, you give me whatever the best price is. I don't care if you have 17 wives.
Well, what it comes down to
he doesn't have 17 wives, Teresa. I'm joking.
Oh, trust me, she knows better than that. She's
17 kids.
She knows I was lucky just to pull her, let alone it'd be a miracle to do it again. It's a miracle to just do it once.
That's right.
No, what it comes down to is idealism. Whenever it comes down to leading people and stuff, people aren't led by logic. Same way they don't purchase by logic. They purchase with emotion and justify with logic. And so therefore, when it comes down to tugging at people's emotional moralities about what you're going to do, it's easier to lead those people by leading them with those emotional strings that you're pulling along with it. That if you feel strongly against eating meat, that you feel like it's something that you really, really are against because you don't want to go and you feel like you're going to harm another animal, that you don't want to partake in that. It's something you feel morally obligated to do. Good for you. Then a leader comes along and says, we're going to try to protect more animals so that less people will eat them. Well, now you're on their side and they could tell you everything else, a bunch of lies with it, so that they can go and follow along with it. It's like, yeah, absolutely. We're not going to eat, we don't need to be eating these animals. Also, we need to go and tax the rich more. Yeah. We need to go and raise taxes because, they don't want to eat animals, and I want to raise taxes because it's going to come down to me because people care about me because they care about the emotional, personal policy that I care about, for myself. So that's how they manipulate people, is by using religion, is by using morals, so that they can take those, harm those. And they're good characteristics for people because they're trying to be good people. People intend to be good with these, but they think by voting for those persons that align with that belief system, that they can go and make a change and make a difference in their world. And in fact, they're being manipulated into voting for that person.
I think you walked into that perfectly. You said they are good people, right? They think they are good people.
Right.
Just by saying that, you have a collective mentality that there's a standard of what a good person is.
Yeah, right. We talked about this before. Yeah.
So how about we look at you being a good person? not good people, because a people is a group, right? Be what you think is a good person, and if it doesn't step outside the bounds of hurting somebody else, great, I'm happy for you.
Well, but that's the thing about it with being with good. Now I'm going to go and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole right now, but then you have to go and decide what is a good person. What determines a good person? Because you talk to most people, they say, oh, I'm a good person. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I don't kill.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'm like, okay, what do you do that's good? And they're like, what do you mean? What do you do? What do you do? It's like, well, you just don't do evil.
Right.
That's what you're saying. So you're defaulting by, since you don't do evil, that automatically makes you good. Now, a good person does good things. And again, that's when you can have that moralistic discussion about where morality and goodness actually comes from. But we're not getting into that today. But politicians try to use that in order to justify you voting for them so that they can manipulate you in all the other ways.
Well, we just see that blended so much. Like you have people fighting it for church and state. You have people fighting against church and state. I just want the government to do what it's supposed to do. Nothing else. Nothing more. That we're not asking for anything more. I mean, you look at these guys that
protect our well-being. That's it.
right.
Protect our well-being. That's it.
Oh no. Sorry, Dom. I got hacked today, and I'm having issues with that. So.
Yeah, it looks like that, people didn't like what you said on TikTok or on YouTube. They're coming after you now with the big brother. They don't like what we're doing anymore, so they're coming all in.
But back to what I was saying was I get sick and tired, and we're in the South, we're in the Bible Belt. I get sick and tired of hearing this. Well, I'm a good Christian man. I'm involved in my church.
I know my Bible.
I'm involved in my church, and that's why you should vote for me. Wait a minute. What does that have to do with governing? Now, do I want you to have a good character or what I think is good character? Yes, absolutely. I think that's important. But if you don't know how to do the job, I mean, you can be a great man, but if I hire a carpenter, I need a carpenter. If you don't have any carpenter skills, I don't care how much you go to church. You need to know the system. You need to understand how it works. And if you don't know that, you don't know a hammer from a screwdriver, that's a problem.
Right.
And we consistently see this, especially on the local level, where guys don't have any idea what government is. And I'm not saying I'm an expert in Montgomery politics or government or national government, but if I was applying for that position, if I was saying, hey, vote for me, I would know how that stuff worked. You can't even tell me how a budget is passed. Well, I mean, actually, nobody knows how to pass a budget. So I guess that's pretty common down in Montgomery and in Washington, D.C., huh?
No, 100%.
So I struggle with it, Dominic, because we get this idea that a good man is a good public servant. That's not always the case. So why do we keep coming back to that as because you believe the same thing religiously as I do, that you're going to be a good representative for me in Montgomery?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, but the truth of it all is that the people who would make the best leaders have no desire to run.
Absolutely.
And they wouldn't get elected because they're non-manipulators. And in order to be elected, you have to be manipulative in some way. You have to manipulate people's emotions. That's why all these issues, they always tug on these emotions like we just talked about. You have to have those trigger points for people as a rallying cry to get behind you in order to go and move forward while, you're doing the sleight of hand. Well, I'm sneaking this in too. That's and right. Then we'll justify defending these people because they're our guy, And I am talking about Trump. I am talking about Trump on that.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time, and it's one of those where you have to understand how the policies work, and there is no purist in Washington. There is no purist in Montgomery.
There's no saints there.
So what you have to figure out is what is acceptable. What is acceptable as far as deal making goes, because a lot of it is deal making, and then the other piece is know how all of the actual structure works in order to do what you want to do.
Right.
I just struggle so much. Like I can't stand to go to a local municipal meeting and they not even know how the meeting is supposed to run. Like what they'll do as a council member is, oh, clerk, can you tell me what needs to happen next? Well, you got elected. You should know what happens next. And if you don't, resign. That's where I get to. If you don't know what you're doing, resign.
Well, I don't have as much of an issue with that. And I'll tell you why. It depending on how far it comes from. If you're dealing with people who are more common men, who's just ordinary, everyday working man that's not in and out of that world constantly, there's a part of ignorance that you need to know formality and stuff. Because I, as someone who served in a public role in that way, I'm too busy with my other stuff that I'm trying to okay, what's next? I'm trying to do my best judgment,
sure,
but I'm not so familiar with the formality because I'm too busy trying to do other things in my life
But in your position, weren't you an advisor? Isn't that what you did?
No, I wasn't an advisor. It was
Was it appointed or elected?
appointed.
Okay, so with appointed, any appointed position you have is going to be advisory role. It's with the elected position, that is everybody around you. You got voted for this position, you get put in, and that is your job. I mean, advisory roles, like if I'm an economic advisor, which I think that was similar to what you were doing in Good Hope, on an advisory role, I come in and my subject matter expert is me on this specific thing. I know real estate, or I know zoning laws, right? I don't care about what the formalities are inside of the meeting itself. Right. And so I'm going to give you a big pass on that, Dominic, because the advisory role is different. But if I get elected to be a council member, I should know how the meeting should be run. I should know what I'm allowed to do, because what happens is these council members come through and they're sitting in the meeting and the mayor says something that's offline, or vice versa. The council member does, the mayor does it. And so then they say, well, am I allowed to say something at this point?
Right.
Wait a minute. If you don't know you're allowed to say something, he just ramrodded whatever he was doing through the whole council. It's done. There was no vote on it. There was no discussion, because you didn't know your dang job. Know what you're supposed to do, and if not, don't get in that position. Well, Richard, nobody would do it if that was the case. Well, then dissolve the municipality. If the citizens are not willing to govern themselves, they don't deserve it, remove the municipality. I can speak about 3 or 4 different places inside of Coleman County that should really consider that. So I'm going to have a lot of friends after this episode. Now, I hope this is YouTube, so maybe not as many people watch it. I hope they do, though. You've been putting reels all over this, so you're going to start tagging people down it.
Nah. Usually, if the stuff they don't like usually gets around faster, you know.
That's true.
I won't be tagging anybody.
So there's a reason. There's multiple reasons, but there's a reason why I do not run for a position. I've had people ask me to run for county commission. As far as that goes, I've had people ask me to run for the city of Bonmont, whether that's or the town of Bonmont, whether it's for the mayor or for a council member position, which I could technically run for. I have properties there. I had people ask me even about this District 11 that's coming up. I cannot commit the time to doing it, and if I can't commit the time, I'm not going to step into that role. If I was going to do it, I would do it 100%, and that would be my new job, is doing that thing. It wouldn't be a part-time gig, and I got to run my business over there. I would have to have a contingency to say, this is taken care of, but I'm going to know my stuff better than anybody else does. And when we just don't have enough people that are willing to do that on the front end.
Well, you also have a lot of families that rely on you not to do that, too.
That's fair, and that's what I had to think about, too, was can my companies run by themselves? And if they can't, that's my fault, and I can't punish the people that work for me or with me because I'm stepping in this other role. Now, if we're talking about wartime, if we're talking about something like that,
right,
that's a different story. But as a public servant, I am volunteering to step into this role. Nobody's forcing me to do that. Maybe there are lives at stake, but it's a different field. Dominic, I know we're getting a little long with it.
Yeah, I know. We've chased quite a few rabbits in a second.
Here's what it comes down to for me. I think that we should have choice. I think that we should have choice within our government. I don't think that 2 parties should be able to root out anybody else. I think that at the local level, we have to have people step up in the independent parties, whether that's libertarian, whether that's, like I said, Green New Deal. If we have somebody that's Green New Deal in Alabama, please run. Please run. I would love to hear a different perspective. I'm tired of hearing, well, Democrats are bad and Republicans are good because we believe that abortion is bad. Now, that's the only argument they have now. So when you have a problem, I'm going down the rabbit hole again, Dominic. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, we're not restrained by a certain time on YouTube. We can take as long as we want. So
the biggest thing for me is I want choice. I want to be able to be a free thinker. We all think that, or we all say, oh yeah, I'm a free thinking, logical American. Give me liberty or give me death. Yet we take 2 options. That's it. 2-party option, which really drives me crazy. And then we take the taxes on the back end, and then we take the regulations, and then we take, that's just part of how it is. No, it's not. We can stand up for that.
No, absolutely. But I do think a lot of that comes down to the 2-party system. I forget exactly what it's called, but businesses will go and cut down on, let's say a restaurant will cut down on their menu items and reduce the amount of options on there. Sure. Because when people are giving too many choices, they don't make a choice. They get overwhelmed by the choices that they make. I don't know if you've ever been got on some movie streaming app or whatever, and you spend more time trying to find the movie more so than actually watching the movie itself. Whereas I remember, let's just go look at that, talk about like the video games growing up. We had 2 games growing up, me and my brothers. Just for the Sega Genesis, either Sonic 2 or Aladdin. We never had any kind of hard decision to make when it came time to play. It was one of those 2 games where now you can go and you have a library full of, my kids probably had too many games, but, and they can't decide what to play. And I just think back like, wow, a lot easier when you have 2 choices. In the same way, when it comes down to this right here, is that you start confusing, when you give people too many choices, they start confusing, you start fracturing too many people off. So that's why they try to cut it down into 2 camps. And it's like, okay, well, we're in this camp, we're the pro-choice group, so all you pro-lifers, y'all go over here. So let's split it down the middle on that right there.
So what you've just said is that the American citizen is no better than a sheep or a cow because they have to be herded one way or the other.
Well, we're trained that way. From the time we were born, we're not trained to be problem solvers. We're not trained to be free thinkers.
I agree.
We're trained to go and follow the mold that you want success. Richard, you better go be a real estate agent. You better not do that. You need this job, Richard.
Don't run your own business. You're working 200 hours a week and never make anything. No protection. Somebody might sue you. You might go bankrupt.
They feel you with so much fear. And I use you because I know you've had it happen to multiple people. I didn't.
Put handcuffs on me right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it comes down to we're so used to being scared because of other people. And even people we love and respect. I'm not no knocks against anyone. They're trying to do their best, what they think is sound advice. But at the end of the day, it's trying to label us and put us inside of not label us. They're trying to go and restrain us in that box of comfort, that box of security that they've known that they're scared to branch out of. But they're falling to the same system, and these are the people who are victims of the stock market. Oh my gosh, these poor people. It's like, oh, I feel so terrible for these people, and I do. But they allowed themselves to be in that system to where they're vulnerable. They're more vulnerable now with their wealth that they have wait until they're 65 to have right now than you are with going out purchasing properties, flipping properties, because at the end of the day, they're tied to uncontrollable tangibles.
Well, they have given their freedom away. Yeah. They have said, I am not smart enough. I am not willing to stop watching Alabama football on Saturdays or LSU football in order to study about finance, in order to study about business. So here you go. I'm just going to do whatever you say. And then if it's bad, it's bad. And you can make all the money you want off of me. I just need a little taste. That's all.
Yeah, I just give my escapism. Don't mess with my sports.
Don't mess, man. It's a drug, man. Escapism is a drug. No. It doesn't matter if it's drinking. It doesn't matter if it's doing drugs. It doesn't matter if it's football or Netflix or what. It's a drug that we are so addicted to in America. And you go to other countries and see what kind of work they actually put in for no opportunity.
Right, absolutely.
Now, we're gonna have another 2-hour episode.
No, that don't matter. We got time. We got time on that. But don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking escapism because escapism is healthy. But if you're only working for that escapism, that's what's unhealthy.
A glass of wine's healthy every day, right?
Right.
But how about 6 of them? You start running into real problems, and then you're this. I'm gonna taste a little bit of this. And now my football addiction now becomes what? Well, I'm not seeing my kids and I'm telling them to go upstairs. I don't want to be around them. Well, now they're addicted to something upstairs. They're addicted to their tablets. And then it continues to why can't we just take responsibility, own up to it on the front end, and be what we were before, which is it's accountable, rugged individualists that say, I'm going to make the most of my situation and I don't need Uncle Sam to back me. That's what it comes down to. And I know you can come up with all sorts of examples. Well, so-and-so was disabled at the beginning of their life. Great. You know what? As a person that has done well in business comparatively for the area, I'm happy to help that family. I'm happy to take the money that Uncle Sam says he's going to give them and help them by giving mom a good job, by helping them with the house, by building them a ramp, by making sure they have groceries. We've done this before dozens of times where we make sure people have food in their house. We make sure that their car has a full tank of gas on a regular basis. Where are churches? Where are men? I don't want Uncle Sam in that business. I need you to govern at a limited capacity and let me take care of my community. That's all I want. I mean, is that too much to ask, Tom?
No, amen.
Get up here and start preaching for a second. I want choice. I want to be able to take care of my community. I want to be able to give to my schools and churches. I want to be able to give to my community as a whole. But the only way I can do that is if I'm not being taxed 60 and 70%.
Well, exactly.
I mean, when you start taking money from me and giving it to people that don't agree with the things that I'm doing, I've got a real problem with that. And we have to wake up and realize that whether red or blue, whether Joe Biden or Donald Trump, it doesn't matter. Taxation is theft, and we've got to limit it. At least control what it's being spent on. If we start there, you're going to see income tax go away. You're going to see these tariffs like you were talking about. The tariffs are going to help. They're going to help balance out trade. But the biggest thing is stop taxing us so dang much. It drives me crazy because it's these hidden taxes, Dominic. It's not just...
And most people don't even know how much they're getting taxed. They don't know how much they're getting taxed for anything. I mean, you think about it, they probably get, 15 to 30% taken out of their checks every week.
Oh, yeah.
That gets going thrown into whether that they get their refund at the end of the year that they get. So they get hit with that first. They turn around, they have to go drive to the store. Well, how much of that fuel that they're spending is going into... How much of that money... They're going there like, oh, yeah. It's $2.85 a gallon. How much of that is being taxed?
Yeah.
You don't see it, the tax. And there should be transparency on that. Yeah. What is your tax rate for there? But they hide that. So we don't even actually know what a gallon of gas is actually costing us because there's so much tax associated with that. But then we turn around. Now we want to go to the grocery store. Yeah, you've got to go to the grocery store because we have to eat. And if we're trying to be responsible, we're going to go and eat at a lower, try to shop for groceries at home. So then we turn around, we take that post-tax dollars using
already been taxed.
Post-tax dollars, driving with post-tax gas that you spent on just to get to the store. Yeah. Then you go there and then you get pre-tax food that you budget for, and then you turn around and get post-taxed on that afterwards.
Well, not just that. Add in another half a. It's just half a penny, right? Half a penny for the school districts. Because, Vinemont needs a new such and such, or the Coleman County school system has to have more funding for more teachers because they're not getting paid enough.
Oh, absolutely. And what kind of a-hole would not you're not going to spend a half a cent on us?
Sure.
Sure. That's where it comes down to. So at the end of the day, you actually retain, I forget how much it is, but it's something along the lines of like 40 cents on the dollar.
That's right.
That you actually retain that's actually being used of your monies that you make. So whenever you figure out, okay, I'm making $50 a week. Yeah, $1,000 a week. You might as well, $600 of that is going back to the government.
That's right.
In some form, but it's done in such small little ways over and over again that you will never know, you'll never see it. And then you look at the tax burden for these corporations and stuff, they pass that on to you. So even with the goods you're buying, how much of that is being taxed on that end? So it's a cycle of how much taxation is coming through, and yet we're still running a $34 trillion deficit in the United States, and we're still spending money everywhere across the world. We're still funding wars.
But we're free. We're free.
Yeah, we're free.
We're not free from taxation, and taxation is theft. Taxation is slavery. We got to continue to come back to that. You take my money from me, and then you charge me for every service. I mean, you look at all these. I'm about to cut it out in a minute, but you look at all these pseudo government entities. You got these co-op boards, and you've got power boards, and water boards, and gas boards that are supposed to be free market, but
not to be confused with waterboarding. That's a different thing altogether.
It feels like waterboarding. I mean, it feels like constant waterboarding. But these guys get government subsidies, or they are the government themselves, so they're not taxed in any way, shape, or form. And they turn around and apply that back to us, and our governments are making money off of us, off of services,
right?
Which should be competed for in the market. Well, nobody's going to take on that kind of risk. Well, you're right, because you won't give them a profit. You try and tax them 60 to 70% constantly. So I'm about to sign off on this one, Dominic.
Yeah, we'll go on forever.
I've enjoyed the conversation. It wasn't meant to be a rant about taxes. It wasn't meant to be a rant about just personal liberties. Understand that you have more choices than just red and blue. Understand that there are better options that might fit you. You might be socially conservative. You might be socially liberal. You might be fiscally conservative or fiscally liberal. Look at those options. There are people out there that have similar like-minded views, and a vote for an independent is not a wasted vote. You need to stop thinking that way. You really need to look at the overall picture and move in that direction. China, I think that we're going to continue to balance out our trade deficit on that. I think they'll come to a deal eventually because neither country can actually sustain without each other. No. So they're going to come to some sort of deal on that side. And we've got to stop funding everybody else. Let's get better trade deals. And then let's take the invisible hand is what it was. Let's take the invisible hand off of our economy. Let's have laissez-faire. Let's stop taxing people to death. Let's stop creating winners because you do exactly what Uncle Sam does. we'll have a better country as a whole, and the world will be better if we do that.
Absolutely. I could go down a whole nother road that just opened a whole nother road. We just opened up, so we're going to sign off on that. I say anything, it's going to open a new conversation.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.